let's first talk about the pier. Let me start out my comments by saying we're going to have a pier. We are going to build a pier. Now, I get asked questions about this a lot recently. And the question I get asked the most is, well, why doesn't the city just take the money that it had borrowed for the pier and use it elsewhere? So, for example, our sewer systems. Well, the answer to that's pretty simple. Bond laws and regulations require the city to spend the proceeds of tax-exempt debt issues on the projects described in the offering statement. In simple language, it means we bonded to build a pier. You got to use the money to build a pier. You can't use it on sewer systems. You can't use it on anything else. It's like getting a mortgage on a home, having your car break down, and then tell the bank, oh, sorry, I'm using $50,000 of my home mortgage to buy a new car. You can't do it that way. Another question I get asked is, well, why don't we just pay the debt off, pay the bonds back, or ask the bondholders if they'd allow us to use it for something else? Well, you can't allow the bondholders to use it, ask them to use it for something else. That doesn't work. And the bonds aren't callable until 2026. So what that means is it's estimated that today the city would have to deposit approximately $62 million in escrow so that the debt for the pier and the pier approach could be called in 2026. I said 62 million. As of November 22nd, the city had already made actual payments of 10.3 million from the bonds for the pier and 408,000 for the pier approach. We have other contractual obligations that remain. If we were to try and pay it back, not only would we have to pay the bonds back, but we'd have to incur the debt for the TIF dollars we've already taken, IRS-related issues for the debt, non-bond-related debt payments that have already been made, and it's estimated it would cost the city to spend about $35 million to not have a pier. $35 million not to have a pier, which to me makes no sense. And lastly, the last thing I'll say about it is it's the right thing to do. It's a part of our history. It's a place for everyone in our city to gather. It's for families. Most of us in this room are probably fortunate. We can eat dinner at a cafe on Beach Drive, take in the views. We might be able to go out on the water on a boat or go fishing from our dock. Not everyone can do that. We can stay at the Vinoy and think the world is right and we don't need to make any more changes or improve everything else, but there's a lot of people in our city who desire to have a family-friendly destination in our downtown that doesn't exist and who aren't satisfied with what we currently have to offer. That's why we're going to build a pier. Last thing, about the restaurants. The new pier will have less restaurant space than the old one. In fact, it's going to have less restaurant than the old pier had in the whole area. And they will pay market rate.